as you tell your and you share your journey is like, all the voices that are out there, that are pushing you in the directions they want to go in or they think someone should go in. You know, how was your experience of that on your journey? Did you have any lows? And where you felt like you were getting away from who you really were or what you wanted to be? How did you deal with those? And what kept you grounded? If you could share some of that story as part of your intro, that would be great. And chat for as talk as some people ask me how long you should speak for, 10, 15 minutes, and then we can open it up to Q&A would be great. But the floor is yours.
Thanks, Manisha. Hey guys, ladies and gentlemen. Guys is I hear it's a male only term, but I consider it like I don't know, pretty neutral. So we use guys in my company, but we also use gals sometimes, so it's equal. So yeah, my name is Christian, but I work with mostly Muslim people. So I find it weird when I call myself Christian in front of bunch of Muslim people, so I thought maybe Chris is more normal. Because I never realized that my name was actually sounded religious, right? So I was born in Bolivia, and then I was like, oh, Christian Grey, whatever. And then, but I never thought it was religious at all. But then I'm in a call with all the Mohammeds and all the, like, oh wow, maybe my name is actually interesting. But I asked them, and they said, no, it's okay. We understand Christians, and it's just the name. But anyways, my journey is one of so many backgrounds and so many souls that have kind of been part of my own collective soul. Let's say my grandparents from my mom's side are both refugees from Palestine. They were expelled. Just people in Gaza are being expelled right now from Gaza. I was chatting with a guy in Gaza yesterday. He was telling me that he was being displaced in the next couple of days to a refugee camp. I mean, obviously, 80% of the population has been already displaced to refugee camps, maybe 90. And I could see in his eyes that he was just going through the most painful moment of his life, just moving with his two kids to a refugee camp. And somehow I'm like, oh, wow, this is exactly what my grandpa went through when he was escaping Palestine. He had the choice to go to a refugee camp or die in his house or something else, and he decided to go to a refugee camp, just like my grandpa. And here I am, 2 generations later, still fighting for what's right, and the fact that my grandpa put the effort and didn't give up, just like this guy I was on the chat with didn't give up. And it just actually kind of came full circle when I saw him yesterday, and I said to him, stay safe, keep your family safe, and then when the chance comes, you'll be able to give your kids what my grandpa gave to my mom and my mom gave to me, and then you and your grandkids will be able to do one day something good. And that's just how my journey is every day. It's fed with stories of people who are super resilient, and they don't let anything affect their willingness to thrive and be humans, and yeah, they were born in a really bad place. I mean, it's unlucky to be born in Gaza, right? But that's not a problem for them, that they still go and do the thing. And yeah, I mean, I think some of us are born into much more privilege, and we don't see it. It's very hard to see privilege when you've been always in privilege, right? It's like trying to see I don't know, like trying to be a vegan when you've always eaten meat, right? It's like, oh, this vegetable tastes like nothing. There's nothing there for me, right? Or being a vegan when or trying to eat meat when you've whole life you've been a vegan. So it's um it's the same thing with privilege. We don't understand it. We don't understand where we are in the spectrum of privilege until we see it. And I think I've been in a privileged position from that perspective because my parents were both refugees. I was born in Bolivia to both refugee parents. My dad is a refugee from the Yugoslavia war, and he ended up in Germany. And then, so I have a German passport, which made my life so much easier. So that's where a little bit of privilege was maybe bestowed upon me. And then I was born in Bolivia because my parents just ended up there. And I could see I was different from the Bolivians. Bolivians are indigenous from the mountains. 90% of the population is indigenous. And just because my dad and my mom were from outside, even though they were from Yugoslavia and Palestine, which in terms of the Western Europe are like shitholes kind of thing, right? Um, just because they were whiter, they were able to use that privilege to build businesses, to do a thing. So I actually saw my parents go from zero to to having a business, my dad, and putting me through college and sending me to a really good university in the States. And I could see obviously his effort, but also his the privilege. And for me, this whole story of giving back and trying to and thinking, okay, the fact that I have a privilege is almost a responsibility, and not using that privilege for something is almost it's almost yeah, it's almost I wouldn't say criminal, but it's almost like, it's just doesn't make any sense to me somehow. And and I don't know how you as an individual who has not seen both worlds, you can put yourself in the shoes of somebody who has. And I think that's a superpower, right? So I don't think I have, to be honest, because I still lived within quite some privilege in Bolivia, but it was enough, right? So I'm always in this quest to really try to understand what was given to me, so I can then um, give myself energy to pass it forward. And when you have this mindset, okay, of okay, I need to do this, I need to give back, and you can use this privilege to in your education and everything around you to actually make or build a business or impact business, then it all comes together, and it all came to me together for me when I started building my company Tap. Um, yeah, so that's a bit my journey. I've been 5 years into this, building this platform that connects youth from underserved communities to um, to to top companies. Um, we don't we don't go find the companies because we're like, oh, company, please hire this guy in Palestine. That does not work. There's not companies don't care. But what happens is if you empower these individuals to do this on their own, so you give the tools and the strategy to somebody who's in an underserved environment, but they're highly ambitious and highly able and intelligent, they'll do it on their own. So we actually focus on equipping them to go out and find themselves remote jobs. We've so far created more than 400 jobs for Palestinians, and we are expanding to Lebanon and Jordan and some other places. And we leverage communities, so people of privilege to come in and actually share their experience, share their knowledge, share their networks, and basically try to create access to jobs. I think jobs in this sense is there's nothing like having a job, because when you have a job, let's say you're in Palestine, you have a job, you're meeting your colleagues, and when you're in a company and you have colleagues, you don't choose your colleagues, right? You choose your friends, but you don't choose your colleagues. So let's say you're going to meet somebody from Russia in a company, you're going to have to be exposed to this Russian person, their culture, who they're from, how they think. It's going to make you open to them and an understanding of them and their background. The same thing happens for somebody from Gaza. So, for example, all you heard in the news is, oh, these guys are in the middle of the war zone and so on, but then you have to work with one. You realize how amazing and smart and everything they are, and then you start really developing relationships that would not happen otherwise unless it's in a work environment. So that's why work is so important from a human perspective. But also, once you have a job and you're in Gaza, this European company is sending you salary. You're sending back, obviously, knowledge and brain power and effort and so on. But it's creating a flow of capital from the developed country to the developing country that is sustainable. It's not aid. It's not one time. It doesn't depend on whether governments think, migration is shit or it's great. It's a transaction in the end, but it's a very healthy one. And that's why we're so focused on job creation. And ultimately, when you give somebody a job, you are making them, you're creating agency, right? So these guys can then become entrepreneurs, build their own ecosystems, build their own companies, employ more people, and so on. So for me, jobs is the ultimate democratizer. And that's why I'm focusing on creating jobs at scale for youth in underserved communities.
Christian, just quick question. Was this like a straight line for you? I'm kind of facetiously asking because I can't imagine it was a straight line from your background to creating TAP. Were there some detours on the way, or was it, or is there, when you look back, are there things that you can reflect on and maybe would have done differently?
Yeah. So I realized that I wanted to be treated, I wanted people to be treated fairly when my dad, he was a successful businessman, but he was also a bit racist and a bit, I mean, I'll just say it, right? And also a bit anti-women. And so in the company where I was working for 8 years, there was no women allowed, and my dad was the white guy, and he used that privilege so negatively. And I saw that, and I was like, okay, this is not how I want my privilege to be used. And so that for me, seeing that weird dynamic and that the employees being treated like that in my own dad's company, it was really shocking. Um, I guess because my dad has obviously his own journey, right? He was a refugee from Yugoslavia. His mom committed suicide when he was very young because she couldn't hold on to all the pressure from the war and stuff. So he must have suffered a lot, and I'm not blaming him for anything. But I had the perspective, a different perspective, and I could see what was happening, and I didn't want it to repeat itself. So that's one of the things that drove me to build a social impact business. Um, that was one thing for sure that in my life that made me rethink. And then when I went to the MBA, I did an MBA in France, and I was really, really trying to be empowered by the MBA to become a social entrepreneur. And what happened actually is that the MBA was trying to make me exactly the opposite. It was trying to make me a McKinsey consultant. And I was like, why? Why should I be this? And I realized that all these McKinsey consultants were actually almost like it's like they're trying to pull your soul out of you, right? You're like, okay, I want to be a human being that contributes, and they're like, no, 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 you need to be a consultant for McKinsey. And in that journey, in that fight against that brand and being part of this consulting world or the cool job and so on, that fight and succeeding in not letting them win was also something that was really important. I don't know what it was that allowed me to stay true to myself, but I think it was very important because I saw a lot of my friends who came into the MBA and they were very very interested in entrepreneurship and innovation and in impact. They just became consultants. And then I was like, guys, now, okay, you've done 5 years of consultancy. You earn your money. You have it on your CV. Are you gonna ever come back to the to the to this side of the world where we are doing stuff, that we want to do, that not the corporate interest? And they were trapped. They were forever gone. They seen the money, they seen the privilege. It was really hard to get out. So for any of you who ever get tempted, I think it's very, very important to see, okay, is this a choice that's gonna make me something that maybe I don't want to be? It's like when somebody offers you pot for the first time, marijuana, is like you have to decide, am I gonna be a pothead or not? And it's a split second, but it changes your perspective of the world. I'm not saying smoking pot isn't bad, but it changes their perspective. It changes your journey, and it's a split second decision, right? So um, yeah, I think building that resistance in whatever way, and I think one of the ways to build resistance is just I don't know, just keep working with the things you are passionate with, and stay in touch. And even if you want to do McKinsey for 1 year just to get the experience, that's fine. But just make sure you're always connected to what truly makes you you. Any questions or thoughts? Thanks for the hearts, Monisha. Appreciate it. I'll get back to you with some hearts there.
Oh, can I jump in with a question?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, Chris. Thanks for sharing. I feel like your story is super relevant to me because I am a consultant and I got my MBA. I will say though, I owe my company time because they paid. But how I focused a lot on impact as well during my MBA, but I feel like I'm struggling to determine my next step once I like paid back my tuition. So you're in a very directly impactful career now with your own company. Could you like walk through the details of I assume you didn't, maybe you started it exactly once you graduated, but how do you kind of get there? Because usually there's not like a perfect, obvious next step. I feel like you just have to push through ambiguity.
Yeah. Great question. I think your case is very interesting because I hear this very often that people say, no, but I have to pay my tuition. I need to spend 2, 3 years here and then I can do it. And then sometimes it's just too late because then the thing just kind of took you, and then then you stay. But I would say this, if you're in a position to land a job in consultancy and you have done an MBA and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you're a smart person and so on, you're definitely in a position to do something that you want to do. You don't the fact that you have all the tools to be able to do what you've done means that you have all the tools to do whatever you want to do. And that's something that people don't understand. They're like, yeah, but I have to pay something or I have to do something. Fine, pay it. You can also just, you know, join an NGO, for example, and then they'll pay you less, but then in the end you'll be able to pay it anyways. So I think the idea here is not to let um, these thoughts be bigger than they are, because they're not bigger than your desire to be who you want to be and make the impact you want to make. And yeah, I after my MBA, I got offers to go to consulting, I thought to myself, I'm not gonna go through with this because it included going back to Latin America, and I wanted to have an experience outside Latin America. So I chose a 9 to 5 job in a company that does stickers. They literally labels. And I was working in this label company, super not demanding job, 9 to 5, 9 to 4. Sometimes I could do 3, 4 hours a day and nobody would know, but I could build on the side. I could be doing on the side. And yes, I don't have the MBB logo in my CV, but I was able to spend 2 years in a shitty corporate job or a corporate job that gave me the time to actually do what I wanted to do. And it doesn't have to be like that. I think for me, it was just the job opened the doors to be in the Netherlands. So that's what I wanted to move to the Netherlands. So there was also that. But I knew I couldn't work full time or just really work 20 or 12, 14 hours a day if I wanted to build my own company. So needed this job. And for me, it was also very important to go into corporate and just feel the lack of agency I would have in a corporate. So I would never want to go back. And this is exactly what happened. Actually, I went to the corporate 2 years and I was like, okay, I'll never do this again. I have to find my own way. Um, so yeah, I assure you that I don't know how it works particularly for you. If you leave a consulting firm, you have to pay X amount of money. I'm sure you'll be just fine, and that you'll find your way, and you'll be probably super happy that you did it earlier. Because the other thing is people think, oh, the more I stay, the more experience I'll have. That might be true, but also there's a cost in you staying, and I think you would benefit from leaving. After a couple of years of experience, you're done. You've gained most of the experience. Experience goes it's very steep at the beginning, but it just really goes like that. I think for anything, right? And to be an entrepreneur or do something out of the box, you need energy. And the younger you are, the better. So I would recommend starting the entrepreneurial journey with, 26 to 32, because you're gonna grind for 6 years until you find your way. And yeah, you have to be okay with making less money. I make half of what I would make if I was working for a corporate, but I'm double or triple or quadruple as happy. Monday blues are not a thing for me, I have the opposite. I have Sunday blues because I'm like I want it to be Monday already. So yeah, that's a bit how I
Okay,
see it.
one follow-up question, because I know some people in my breakout group were interested in MBA. Do you think an MBA was worth it for you or no?
I think it was very worth it. Mostly because of the network that I got, and also I mean, knowledge was really, really good. I think yeah, I didn't have the framework to think about how, to build a business had I not done the MBA. So it was really, really powerful. Like I said, though, the danger is that at the end, when you're applying to jobs, there's going to be zero jobs in impact, and then you're going to end up doing something that is not related to what you actually wanted to do, which is how I ended up working for a paper company, Dunder Mifflin.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Hey, great question, Heidi. Nice to meet you.
One question from me. How did you land on the idea for TAP? Is it something that you always had in the back of your mind, or is it something that you stumbled into after you completed your MBA?
Um, yeah, thanks for the question. I think there's gotta be a really good metaphor for this. I'm not sure what it is, but um, it's really hard to know where you're gonna end up. But it's easy to know where you're heading. It's in your control to know where you're heading, right? And my idea was always to do something of impact. And the way that it started was in my closer circle, my closest environment after the MBA, I had a friend, and we started a company that was uh, data, basically helping small businesses compete with bigger businesses. And the idea was to provide data to small businesses about customers. So impactful enough. It wasn't like the holy grail of impact, but it was really interesting because we were trying to democratize data, which is something that, as you guys know, is owned by three big companies, right? So then that led us to work with an IT outsourcing company based in Palestine. And obviously we said, oh, well, super cool to support somebody in Palestine who's just building a company and so on. And then we finished the project. He was also an MBA from our same school. We went to visit him in Palestine just for fun, go dance in some techno clubs in Tel Aviv. I didn't know anything about Israel or Palestine at the time. And then I crossed from Tel Aviv techno mode to Nablus, and I see the settlements. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. These techno guys are doing this? What the hell? And that's when I started to learn about Palestine and so on. But I was from the get-go, I guess I was really trying to do something with impact, and I had my eyes open to something like that, and it just guided it took me there. What's funny, it's actually took me back home, right? It took me back to where my grandpa and grandma were expelled from. So there's something very interesting there. So and obviously when you are so driven because there's something in your DNA almost, or you're so deep in your mind and potential trauma or whatever, then it really becomes it becomes an incredible source of energy, and you'll need that energy for entrepreneurial journey, right? So I always say, just think about what's closest to home. What about your journey, Greg or Heidi, has made you suffer maybe, or go through pain, and it could be so many different things. I was asking, somebody was asking me the same question not long ago, and Dutch people are very, very privileged. They have, amazing families, and very few people have. troubled families or backgrounds, or yeah, they seem they have had a lot of time after the golden ages where they have um evolved as a society. So I see them, and I see them as very privileged people. And this guy asked me how what do I do that makes me like, how can I start this journey? And we looked at it together, and he actually had this disease, Lyme disease, and that was the thing that actually triggered him. He says, I had Lyme disease, was the most this the 4 years of my life were almost lost, and my whole brain was damaged by it. He's still a super smart guy, an AI engineer, and the whole thing. But if I could prevent people from getting Lyme disease, I would be so happy to be able to do that. So that was just really interesting to me, that even somebody in this position of privilege, as I would very lightly call it, he actually has something very big to give back. If you know, so I always think what's closest to you will always give you energy. Um, and yeah, and also will be a journey that is really interesting for you, because you'll get to know yourself better, right? Imagine how much I learned about myself when I went back to Palestine, and I'm like, oh, this is a town where my grandpa is from, and yeah, I'm related to Jesus. No, just joking.
Thank you for those wonderful insights. Lots of food for thought.
Pleasure, Greg.
May I just ask a very quick question? I'm also a former consultant and I can totally relate to everything you've been saying. I was also part of the social impact team. However, I don't have a great network in the social impact environment. So I wonder if anyone who considers founding a social impact startup, would you recommend them if they have a great idea and are very passionate about something to do that on their own, or would you always prefer, or would you always say that this person should rather find a co-founder? Um,
Yeah. I mean, good question. I think the most important thing in your journey to success, or for me, what was the biggest reason why I am able to push through, is because I'm convinced that I can. And that comes from my dad. My dad was an entrepreneur who I saw grinding day and night, and he showed me it's possible, because I saw him building it while I was a 5-year old and a 6-year old and a 7-year old, 10-year old, and it's like, oh wow, this guy's actually building a company. He's being so. It's really interesting to have that as a role model. Now, if you combine that with somebody who is building a company in the impact space, that is really a good starting point. So perhaps working with a founder that is building something really cool, and then that being your entry point. You don't have to start immediately from, okay, I'm going to start a company right away, because I think the most immediate skill to learn anyways is the grinding mindset, the how do I convince these guys to give me money? How do I negotiate this? How do I, where do I find the energy to work on Sundays? I don't know, whatever things these entrepreneurs will show. Will be great lessons, and then you can build your network with them, through them. They can be the point of contact.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody? Lua has a hand up, maybe?
Yes, so thank you so much for that introduction, Christian. So I just had a quick question because you mentioned the grinding culture. I know that it's like something that a lot of people. I'm also like into this business that I would like to start my own startup, but then it's very confusing out there. A lot of people talk about this grinding, working super hard, staying up so many late nights, etc. But then you also have the other aspect of it, which is like the softer, disciplined way of doing things or working smarter. So, what is your take on that?
Um, yeah, so I think the grinding culture for me, when I hear that, just on the street, I think of, okay, investment banker, right? They're grinding to work long hours to make money. That's the grinding culture or the rat race, right? Um, Grinding for me is being able to build your company and under very difficult circumstances. For example, not having a lot of money or having very limited success, so you don't see any response from the market, and people tell you you're building something very stupid, you should stop. Um, so for me, the grinding is a combination in the space of entrepreneurship and also social entrepreneurship is a combination of mental health and taking yourself to the limit. Because you can say you can take yourself to the limit, but if you're not doing it in a way that you're self-aware, then you're gonna be struggling um, very quickly. So for me, grinding is being able to work hard, and obviously, if you work hard and you work or in an organized way, where you have a really you've learned the way to execute as best as possible, but things don't really work out that well, right? You're running out of money at some point. You have to fundraise somehow. You have 3 months, and you're starting to get desperate. So no matter how well you execute it, right? Because that's the whole point of startup is execution doesn't guarantee that the journey is going to be successful. So you have to be prepared for these moments of grind or hitting your limit, and I think that's where self-awareness or mental health is quite important. So that's what I refer to as grinding and being able to grind.
Thank you for that.
Pleasure.
Christian, is it okay if people contact you afterwards if they
Yes,
are still thinking through stuff? Thank you so
100%.
much.
100%. I'm happy to have a quick chat with anybody here. Just use my LinkedIn, and I'll share with you my meeting link as well. So you can just book a call with me and get some, share some thoughts, whatever it might be. So here it is. Wait a sec. All right, I gave you everything. Um, right, nice, great questions. I appreciate the questions. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Monisha, for organizing. And
Yeah,
yeah,
Christian, thank you so much. I really believe that we're in the moment where we have to realize and manifest our true equality around the world to this point of privilege. That time is over, but it will only be over if we act like it's over and we do like it's over, and we can all enjoy living on this planet, as equals with equal opportunity and recognizing the uniqueness of each other. I recognize so much how alluring it is to go into all kinds of different directions. And I was very moved when I heard your story through the INSEAD network, and also very impressed with how you were able to translate it into an actual viable enterprise. And I think you're exactly the kind of role model of the values that we've been talking about and want to be driven by in this program. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of TAP careers, and I'm looking forward to being a mentor and helping in any way I can. So thank you.
thank you, Monisha. I'll say one more thing. I think it's important. It's important to also recognize and congratulate somehow everyone who's in the call, right? Because that means that there's something is awakening, and that's the first step. And sometimes it comes directly from you. It sometimes comes from a combination of things. Um, One of my best friends was very, very metaphysic, and he was always talking about a bit of crazy things, and he actually changed the way I saw the world and our impact and our existence and so on. So I think these things that are presented to us, these opportunities to be in calls like these and so on, are a manifestation of our own desires, and that they're the channel, right, to reach this these realizations or these things. So yeah, good for everyone who's here, and happy to support or happy to have a chat with anyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Big hearts to everybody on that note. To each of all of you. Some of you have expressed how overwhelming it is to be thinking in this way. And I know it can feel daunting, but now you have an idea of all the other people on this journey, so you know you're not alone. And that's sometimes helpful to remember. So thanks, everybody. We recorded this, so it's sent back. I'll send it to you, Christian, but it's also sent back to the participants so they can listen to it again and
Sweet.
draw inspiration when they need to.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
See you on
Thank
Sunday.
you.
Bye.